Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Columbia Association Board of Directors for Thursday, September 11th, 2025. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that today marks the 24th remembrance of the September 11th, 2001 attacks. We remember the nearly 3,000 lives lost that day and the many first responders, service members, and others who have since lost their lives due to the lasting impacts of that day. I invite us to take a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Tonight isn't a typical board meeting. We're hosting a town hall here at Slayton House to encourage real conversation. First, a quick thank you to CA staff, Slayton House, and the Wild Lake Community Association teams and our board for making tonight possible. Here's how the evening will work. First, we'll start with a few short updates from CA staff. Then we'll move into the heart of the evening, time for residents to connect directly with staff and board members. This format is meant for genuine back and forth, where you can share thoughts, ask questions, and get answers in real time. While you can always reach out to board members individually, tonight gives us a dedicated space to do that together. You may have noticed I gabbled us in, poorly albeit, but because of quorum of board members is here tonight, we'll touch on CA policy. We're required to call this a board meeting to comply with the law, but this won't feel like a regular board meeting. There will be no debates and no votes tonight. Our goal is simple: to create space for open conversations that we don't usually have time for informal meetings. It's our first run with this format, so it won't be perfect, but we welcome your feedback on whether this adds value and how to improve it. The first half of this meeting tonight is being broadcast to CA's YouTube channel. Video and audio are being recorded. Tonight's timekeepers will be Ashley, Julia Doran, myself, a couple other staff that are just going to wave me if we're going way over, and we're going to work together to make sure that we stay on track. With that, and continuing the brief awkward formality, may I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Motion from Karen. Is there a second? Second. From Reg. Discussion? Any opposition? All right, by unanimous consent, the agenda passes. We'll now move into a series of short presentations from staff on a few topics we think are especially important for the community. If you have clarifying questions, staff will be handing out index cards. Feel free to write your questions down, pass it back. Just note that we may not be able to get to every single one, but we'll do our best to cover big themes. Before we even start, Sean, did you want to add any other context for tonight?
Yes, thank you. So as part of our regular schedule for the board is to start the budget process. So this is a meeting that we're also using to kick off the FY27 budget process. So the presentations you're going to see tonight is that one is just a financial overview by the CFO, Sean McCullum, just to give you a broad understanding of the budget as a whole. Then we're going to move on to an overview of our community programs and services by Dan Burns, and then community operations by Jeremy Scharfenberg. And then lastly, a review of the FY26 board goals. The idea of these presentations is to give you an overview of the budget, but also the departments and the elements that go into creating the budget on an annual basis and how they tie in with the board goals. So it's really just to give you an overview to kind of set the tone, and then beyond that, you can ask or not ask any questions around it. So with that, Sean McCullum is going to start us off.
One point of order, do we take the roll?
Oh, I apologize. I was going through. Thank you, Eric. I will call the roll real quick. Sky. Reg.
Here.
Karen.
Here.
Wes is absent. Mike is absent. Eric.
Here.
Delilah.
Here.
Bill is absent. Ashley.
Here.
And I am here. Thank you, Eric. And Sean McCullum, we'll turn it over to you. Great.
And for the board, the presentation's behind you.
Community. And a special thank to those of you who are here in person, as well as those folks listening to us online. Over the next 10 slides or so, I will touch on the budgeting process and the timeline at a high level. Share with you where our revenue is coming from and what proportions is made of. I will also talk about operating expenses in terms of salaries, travel, and so on and so forth, as well as talk about functional expenses as a percentage of total dollars spent. I will also talk about our capital investments and human capital. And I will close with Columbia outlook in terms of challenges and opportunities ahead. Let's get started. So when you look at this slide, as the headline says, budgeting is a process. It really listening to you and the community overall, listening to the board, and really taking that information in as to what we heard from people in terms of what the priorities are, and thinking about it, and then analyzing it, engaging, revising, and deciding. So it really takes a long time to put it together. It's a lot of labor goes into it, but it all begins with input, quality input, and thinking about matching resources, and it becomes a priority for the next 12 months for us as an organization. So as you can see in this chart, this is the kickoff process of the budget, where we are trying something new in terms of format, the town hall, and we want to hear quality inputs from all of you. And then by the time we go through several different iterations back and forth with you, with the board members who listen to you and come back to us in terms of where we need to focus. And ultimately, we're going to end up in February of 26, really looking at operating budget, capital budget, membership rates, and guidance on that, as well as annual charge and cap. And finally, deciding, as you all know, we have a management reserve, emergency reserve set aside. So in that meeting, the board is going to decide, approve, and it will become an effective approved budget at the time. So it's important to point out that this is not the only time that you have an opportunity to participate. There are 7 additional scheduled board meetings, which I encourage you to come in and talk to us and let us know what you're thinking. And that way we could understand what is happening with the community, and as well as overall priorities and goals. So I just wanted to give you an idea, what is the total size of our organization, where the dollars are coming from. In FY25 actual, we did about $86 million. And as you can see the pie chart, about 34 million of that, it comes from the community programs and operations. And then roughly about 49 million comes from the annual charges. And I hope you can see the chart. If not, let me know. I'll read the numbers to you. But of that annual charge, about roughly 31.5 million is the residential. And then about 18 million of that comes from the commercial. So the one point about the 34 million, that piece of the dollars really make it possible for us to continue to provide the depth and breadth of the services that you guys enjoy. And if you were just to rely on the annual charges, we may not be able to afford all these services that we provide with excellent service to you. So moving on to the where the dollars are going. So this is a chart. It kind of looks at the personnel, depreciation, so on and so forth. The top 3 expenses being the personnel, depreciation, and the repairs and maintenance, they make up 63% of every dollar that we spent. In total in FY25, that number was roughly $75 million. And as you can see, huge chunk of the money is going into labor. And I'm going to share with you at a later time and how many heads it takes to build a service our villages or communities. So the one thing I wanted to highlight to you here is the depreciation expense. A lot of people don't think about what it is. So these are all the investments that we've made over the years. is coming back to P&L as an expense because initially it was a cash outlay. And as a depreciation matching principle, the future benefit with expenses is coming back into P&L as an expense. So it just shows the amount and the scope of dollars this community, this organization is investing into the community. Again, 81 cents of every dollar we spend, as the slide says, is spent on community programs, community operations, and community villages. And the rest goes into marketing and administration. So this is a piece a little bit interesting. As you can see, we continue to spend about 14, 15, depending on the range, what needs to happen in terms of priority. These are actual dollars we are putting into playgrounds, the pathways and the dredging of the lakes and what have you, but it goes directly into the communities that you enjoy every day. So as I said earlier, it takes a village to serve the community. There are 1,400 people approximately serving you day in, day out. I don't know if you can see the numbers. I apologize, the table is a little bit small, but I'll give you some interesting numbers on that if you bear with me for a second. As you can see, a bigger chunk of the pie really is the community program services. And that's about 1,300 people, 1,300 heads. And then the next biggest really is the community operations, about 88 people. And then you got marketing organization, roughly 24, and then about 50 or so SG&A, G&A, roughly 1,436. In terms of full-time and part-time, there are about 260 full-time folks and about 266 part-time folks. In terms of FTE, roughly about 488. It's a huge number of people. It's very people intensive, and that's what it takes to serve the community. So in terms of headwinds, we all listen to every day what's happening on a daily basis. The elephant in the room is the federal government. Folks, what was the strength of the state of Maryland over the years, which is the federal government? It became the weakest point. So as of January, there were 163,000 people employed in the federal space. These are direct employment, by the way, not the contractors or grants. And about 13,000 people since then lost their jobs. And state of revenue board is forecasting that number potentially as high as 30,000 people. So the other thing really is the point I made the first time about Maryland. It has the highest ratio, 3 times any other state in terms of federal employment. And we also know what's happening in the state of Maryland. Huge challenges coming ahead of us. There's a buyout offer to state employees, hiring freezes. And although recently I just heard potentially they might not necessarily accept all the buyouts that they offer the people because we need folks to get the job done and service the community in the state of Maryland. I think the other point that most people don't realize is the cuts to Medicaid, cuts to other grants, and the ancillary impact to the community. These are subcontractors, contractors, all the stuff that's going to be impacted besides the people directly working for the federal government. Who the heck knows what's going to happen with tariffs, right? You heard it that it's up to the Supreme Court right now, but if those tariffs go into effect, guess what? We all need to spend more dollars buying eggs and the gasoline and everything else, and as well as cars. But definitely that will impact how we spend our dollars and where we spend our dollars if that happens. Ultimately, about $3 to $6 billion forecast for state of Maryland. And I know I am very active in that government space because that was my prior job in Cecil County, Maryland. They are trying to save $1 billion, but majority of those savings are actually coming from shifting the dollars back to the states or Board of Education, what have you. Some of them really is not real savings. They're shifting the counties. But I'll tell you, Columbia is in a great position. If you take a look at this, according to the Wallet Hub in February of 2025, Colombia is ranked number 3 best city in the nation finding a job. And it has the country's number 2 highest ranking job market and 11th socioeconomic score, which is great. And targeted investments, right? The government is putting some money into the economy and quantum computing, and as well as additional technology-driven initiatives are spent in Colombia area. So we are looking forward to benefit of that coming our way. Local government, counties put a lot of money back into local business partners. And I think so far they put about 44 million into it. And they should have, help individuals, subcontractors, and the day-to-day folks making the ends meet, so to speak, if I can put it together. And the other one is the Harvey County Gateway development, right? They're talking about 1,000 acre development and additional mixed use, and that should also create additional jobs. So in a way, I just wanted to balance the story. It's not everything dark and gloomy and all that stuff. There are a lot of good things happening in Columbia, Harvey County. I can tell you that Harvey County is well placed in terms of being able to deal with some of these challenges ahead of many other counties. There are 23 counties in the city of Baltimore, and knowing a lot about them, I can tell you we are lucky to be in the Harvey County, Maryland. That's my presentation for you for now.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Raise your hand, we'll get you an index card, but just feel free to raise your hand. We'll get you an index card and then you can turn it back. Julia's going to be walking around for a minute. And I think we're going to move on now to our community programs and services.
Yes, Dan Burns, our Senior Vice President of Community Programs and Services.
I want that. So first, let me thank Sean. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you all for being here tonight. We appreciate you coming out and supporting the budget process and sharing your feedback. It's very important to us in this process. Oh, I gotta go? It's me. I'm the problem. Okay, I'm confused. Can I start over again? Okay. Okay, let's try this again. This is what happens when you don't practice. So again, thanks everybody for being here. Now that the math intensive portion of the program is over, I'm not going to promise no math, but going to give a little insight behind some of the numbers Sean shared in his presentation and what that looks like for the communities, particularly from community programs and services. First, we're going to start where we always start with Columbia Association as a wellness organization. We are here for the wellness of Columbia, and that is founded in our 5 pillars of wellness. 3 of them we're very familiar with, and they're out in front all the time. Social community, we are built around community. That is what Columbia is all about. Environment and sustainability, 3,600 acres of open space, everything the open space teams does, the beautifulness of the green space in Columbia. That is a foundation of who we are. The physical, when people think of community programs and services and some of the things we offer, the fitness clubs, the sports parks, the pools come into mind first. But we also focus on the intellectual. We have a lot of intellectual learning, whether it is from movements from some of these other things. The community operations team does a lot of educating around sustainability. We have the art center, we have the archives. We are very well grounded in the pillar of intellectual well-being as well. And then there's mental well-being. Particularly, this has become much more evident and much more talked about since COVID. It's become much more shared, and the strain on everyone with the changes and everything that's happening. We are here to support that as well. We are not specialists. Our job is to help people find the resources they need to support them. We have 2 psychologists on our medical advisory board to support us on that. Many of our team members are taking mental wellness first aid, which helps find and see signals so that they can guide people in the right direction. So well-being is a lot of what we do as well. And well-being, mental well-being is sustained by all those other pillars as well. So they're all interconnected. That is where we start. Now, who we are and how we deliver that, it's a lot. From our facilities, we have 38 different facilities that we deliver our programs from the outdoor pools to the 4 tennis clubs, the 3 fitness clubs, golf courses, the teen center, the archives, the art center. There are many different ways in which the community can engage with us. Then there's our programs, our school age services programs, which has thousands of kids every year going through the before and after school program. Our multicultural program, Day of Dance, is coming up on Lakefront Live on September 20th. So be sure to go down to the Lakefront and watch that. Our camps, we run 3 camps every year. And our community engagement, in which we partner with hundreds of local organizations every year to support our community. And then there's our marketing team. That's how everyone finds out about what we're doing so that they're aware of it and they can come and participate. We have our design and operational support team. They create all the wonderful graphics and messages that you see. The membership marketing team, as Sean indicated, and we'll touch on again a little bit later. The team here generates $34 million in revenue, and a large portion of that is from membership. Our customer care team, they're the one that takes care of all the questions the community has to make sure they get the answers they need and the support they need. And of course, the website, which is very critical in disseminating information as well. So it's about getting out everything that we have available so everybody is aware, because we want participation. We want people to engage. So how do they engage? Last year, we had about a little over 2.5 million visits to our facilities. 51% of those came from the 3 fitness clubs, with the next group coming from the pools and swim center combined. That's about 480,000. The fitness clubs are a little over 1.5 million. And then surprisingly, the ice rink is in third. We get a lot of usage at the ice rink, both from Open Skate as well as our Howard Huskies youth hockey ice team and the Learn to Skate program, which is one of the largest in the country. So there's really a lot of great participation across the board in all of our different facilities. What that looks like, community engagement, we talked about that. We partner with everyone from the county to the public schools, to PFLAG, to the Action Council, to the Housing Council, to really how we can sustain the community. Our group fitness program, 20% of our visits to the clubs come from group fitness, very important to building community. The neighborhood swim league, over 2,500 kids in the swim team, on the neighborhood summer swim league. First Tee of Howard County is the largest in Maryland. We could go on and on about the impact and the size of these programs that the team puts together. Before and after school care, very important, particularly now. It's becoming ever, before COVID, it was a crisis, and it continues to be a crisis, and team works hard to support that service and make it available. The art center, with all the different programs and the great renovation that just happened there. Our multicultural programs with Sister Cities, the language cafes, which have blown up. We have 75 to 100 people every time it happens. So that's a great way of building community, multicultural, cross learning. So how does all this flow back, and what are some of the highlights of things that have happened in the investments that we've made? From the facility side, a $2 million renovation at the Art Center created a much more beautiful space for the programming to happen, much more inviting. We've received rave reviews. The ceramics people particularly were so excited to get back. The renovation at Supreme, which expanded the size of the weight room, which has been on my list since the day I got here. So 10 years in the making on that one. The new member management system, if you're part of a member and you participate in the programs and you use the app, you see how much easier it is, and that's the new member management system. But that was an entire team effort to make that happen over the course of more than a year, almost 2 years to make that happen. Sustainability. Something as simple as putting in bottle fillers to get rid of plastic bottles. I spoke about the art center renovation. Liz was raving about how the participants there are raving about their bottle filler because they don't have to waste bottles anymore. So we are going out of our way to make sure those are there. Then the turf conversion on the fairways at the golf club. So how could that be about sustainability? That has dramatically reduced, or in some cases eliminated, the pesticides and fertilizers we have to use on the course, which is a win for the environment all around. And so we're really excited about that. We invest in our team. The team has invested over $200,000 in staff development last year. Training, certifications, continuing education to make sure we have the best and brightest and engaged team that can serve this community. We are committed to making our team better, to make Columbia better. And always of interest is our lifeguards. Last summer, we spent over 3,000 hours training our lifeguards to make sure we have a fun, safe environment for our pools over the summer and year round for the indoor pool. There's a lot of time and energy that goes into that. Then for our community, we do a lot of partners, as I talked about partnering with the community, a lot of partnerships. We raised and collected over 700 books that were distributed, 32 units of blood from our blood drives at Supreme, 96 coats for the winter coat drive. There are many of these, so when you see them around, please participate. They do create an impact and they do make a difference in the community. And then just some quick highlights to sum it up. We have over 18,500 memberships and 4,000 Columbia cards. That's more than 40% of our community. Over 2.5 million visits to the facilities in FY25, $34 million in revenue, 40%, as Sean said. Over 50 different affordability and accessibility programs that contribute at least $1.4 million in financial support to the community. For more information on that, that's the next board meeting. I'll be doing a presentation on that. So if you want to learn more about that, please tune into that one. Our partnerships within the organization, they spread far across Columbia to support the community. Our customer care team, they handle over 50,000 calls a year, calls, emails, and walk-ins to support the community. They're the hidden heroes of our organization. They keep everything running smooth. And over 1.4 million visits to our website. As I talked about earlier, our website is a very important communication tool for us. And we do our best to try to keep it up to date to make sure everyone is aware of all the great things that we are able to provide for Columbia because of your participation. So thank you.
Next up is Jeremy Scharfenberg, Vice President of Community Operations, to give an overview.
Is that working? All right, here we go. Okay. The light was on, really. All right, welcome everybody. It's really great to see you. Very friendly faces in the room. And thank you for your time, for actually, taking a chunk of your day to be here to participate in this process. It's something that we're constantly struggling with, to get individuals from our community to come in and participate and really be a part of the process of what the Columbia Association is, which is fantastic. It's all of you, really. That's the trick. It's our residents, our community, our board, our staff, really making Columbia the wonderful community it really is. And some of the statistics that Sean mentioned in terms of consistently ranking as one of the best places to live, all these great things. And so Sean brought some numbers, Dan brought some health and well-being and some tables. I'm going to bring some pretty pictures associated with community operations. So community operations is really all about stewardship, stewarding all of these assets, stewarding the open space that Dan referenced, stewarding all of our facilities that house all these wonderful programs. And so it's really broken into 4 core divisions within community operations. So there's open space, sustainability, capital improvements, and construction and facilities. And so, as I worked up this table here, I realized this afternoon, I was looking at it, like, there should be another component to this table where there is, in addition to each of the core aspects of these different teams that work within community operations, in terms of lake maintenance and open space, or watershed management within sustainability division, or play areas within capital improvements, there's also a cross-cutting aspect. It's actually one of the great things about working within community operations is it's a collective team. And so there should actually be sort of a spider web of connectivity going in between each of these divisions that support each other in serving the community, in helping to steward our resources. And again, sort of keying on that word stewardship. So it's stewardship of our lakes, stewardship of our facilities, stewardship of even an individual piece of equipment. There are individuals in this room, including myself, who actively take care of this community, right down to an individual water heater that I know is working in exactly a certain way to meet the needs of this community and to meet the needs of Dan's staff in serving the community. So get into some little details about each of these individual divisions within community operations. So open space. So this is sort of really the core. They're the kind of the largest group within community operations that really are out there day in and day out, taking care of open space. The pathways, about a little over 500 acres of turf is mowed between 36 and 18 times each year. So the monument beds, facility entrances, meadows, the Hopewell Meadow actually is really fantastic. If anybody's ever been over in Owen Brown, check out the Hopewell Meadow Park. It's beautiful. It's sort of where we're going. Yes, I love it. Applause right there. You know, these are all things that we within community operations care about. We're investing ourselves in personally as people to make these things happen. And we are truly blessed to have this job and this role. I'm thrilled to have this job, to work for the community in this way. And to work for all the amazing people within community operations doing these amazing things every day. So within open space, so there's another example of some photos of really sort of, again, I was going to bring the photos. So we got a pollinator garden right there. That's in Swansfield Park. That's been there for about 10 years. I actually helped build that forever ago. And then just a photo here. This is one of our movie nights. Again, this is sort of part of the community events throughout the year that our team serves. The green light, I was trying to figure that out. Chris, I'm not sure. This may be wicked. I'm not even, but you know, we try to really make it an experience for the community. That's part of why our staff is so great. They think about these little details to make it as value added as possible. So that's open space in terms of our various roles in the community. Sustainability, community engagement programs. This is one of the things I'm really excited about. We have a fantastic team that runs these programs for the community. Weed Warriors, Adopt a Spot, Watershed Stewards. Yes, more applause. It's fantastic. The Adopt a Spot signs warm my heart. Whenever I'm out in open space and I see a little sign out on the pathway, that means somewhere around this neighborhood, there's a resident who cared enough to be trained, to go to Weed Warriors, to work with our team, to volunteer their time, to take care of a little spot of dirt, of grass in open space, to take care of the invasives, to plant natives. So those are fantastic. So every time you're out in open space, you see those Adopt a Spot signs, know there's a community member who cares enough to volunteer their time to take care of that spot. Energy management, a key piece of this, our EV infrastructure, making sure we are supporting clean transportation infrastructure throughout the community with charging stations at our facilities. We actually just finally got the one installed at Supreme. Yay, for those who are waiting for it. Paul, I think you're there. Yes, Paul, it's there. Only took 2 years. We got it through the county. The other photo is a 10-acre solar farm up in West Friendship. Again, the Columbia Association is a leader in all of these issues, and all because of you in large part, and our board, who helps provide leadership in these areas. That 10-acre solar farm, which provides about 25% of our power, it's 10 years old at this point. We've been doing this stuff for a long time, and we continue to push the envelope, again, around stewardship, leading the way in sustainability. Construction and facilities. So Dan mentioned 2.5 million visitors in our facilities. That's a lot of door strikes. That's a lot of footsteps. That's a lot of people banging into walls. So we have an entire team that spends every day maintaining our facilities. So the different components within construction facilities, so major renovations. So this is the team right now that's wrapping up the phase 4 renovation of Supreme Sports Club. Their lower level locker rooms. I was through there today. They look beautiful. They're not the kind of cave structure they were for a while. So we're finally Supreme has been elevated and we're excited about that. The photo here is the new elevator addition at Historic Oakland, which we're fantastic to have up and running now finally. And then this is another example of some work in the front desk at the Columbia Gym, I believe, in terms of restoration. So we have an entire facility services team that takes care of our buildings day in and day out. Again, the continuation of the theme of stewardship. So our buildings require stewardship as well. And then regular inspections of building systems. So all of these things, all these buildings take a lot of work. And there are different pieces that require way more than you would think. So every elevator has to be inspected. Every sprinkler system has to be inspected. Every alarm system has to be inspected. There are all these components that require a significant amount of work to maintain in operation, to keep them safe, to continue to serve our community and provide these features. So capital improvements. So I just talked about construction facilities. So those are our buildings. So capital improvements focuses on investments and assets in open space. So these are the built components of open space. So this is our pathways, our playgrounds, our play areas. Again, there's a significant amount of work. There's an entire team that maintains those, that builds those, that inspects them for safety. It's not just put in place for kids to play on. There are rigorous standards that have to be maintained to make sure it's safe. And that applies to pretty much all of those assets within open space. Land management and GIS. This is a really sort of continuing to grow service area for Columbia Association for the community. There's been some really recent developments there within our GIS team, which are really fantastic. The Discover CA app. I should have had the QR code in here, Sean. I missed that piece. Yeah. But continue to look for Discover CA. It's on the back. We have QR codes in the back of our vehicles. So if you're behind a CA truck, look for the QR code, go to Discover CA. It's a tremendous resource for learning how to interface with all the assets that we have and all the amenities we have in the community. The pool guide, which was another fantastic tool. Did anybody here hit the pool guide? Any hands? Yes, I love it. Okay, that was a new resource for the community. Who liked the heat map? Who was excited about being able to tell you how busy the pool was, right? Like how fantastic is that? Where you could like, hey, what pool do I want to go to right now? Oh, this app will tell me how to most effectively interface with this amenity for the community. And then fleet management. So it takes a lot of vehicles and equipment. You know, we have 500 acres of turf that we have to mow. We have tractors we have to take care of. So that division takes care of all of our fleet as well. And these play areas, I got to tell you, the new cluster play area program really intentionally expanded the age range up to 12, right? 12 years old. But when I'm out there, you know, seeing these projects when they're done, I want to bump that up to 51 because I'm 51 and I want to play on that. Like this is at Running Brook. It's fantastic. I want to play on that. I'm like, sorry, I'm the rest of you that it's got to be out there. And then this is a drone shot of our team replacing some pathway in open space. So in terms of some key statistics, you know, just to run through some of this stuff in terms of, you know, some numbers around what our team does in a given year. So from the construction facility side, I mentioned all the wear and tear on the buildings. So there's about 2,000 work orders a year that our team responds to go out and fix something that has been broken in one of our facilities. An open space, another 2,000 or more work orders every year that team responds to, whether it's a branch that's down on someone's near someone's home, a branch that's down on a pathway, whatever it may be, our team is out there day in and day out. Again, stewardship of our community. 300 major pieces of equipment. So we have boilers, we have HVAC systems, we have water heaters. You know, all of these buildings provide services. There's a lot of different mechanical systems that provide that feature. And we have an entire team that helps take care of those. 2,000 volunteer hours per year enhancing open space. This gets back to our community engagement program. So again, weed warriors, adopt a spot, watershed stewards. So these are community members taking time out of their lives, really carving out, it's a value to them to work in open space to help us, again, steward open space. In terms of the different major sort of features within open space from a capital improvements perspective, 266 bridges, 168 play areas, and 94 miles of pathway. In terms of our facilities, over 500,000 square feet of building space that we own and operate. The largest of that is Supreme, about 100,000 square feet. 7 environmental stewardship awards, 4 from the EPA, 2 from the Department of Energy, and 1 from Howard County, representing sort of acknowledgement of our work around sustainability in the community. And then 100 community events supported per year. Again, this is open space, actively out there every day, whether it's a fall fest within one of the villages or Lakefront Live or bike around, whatever it may be, our team is out there helping facilitate all these wonderful things in the community. And then really quick, I'm just gonna run through sort of some of the resources that go in to make all of that happen. And so the fiscal year 26 operating budget for community ops is a little over $24 million. And it's broken out there in terms of about 10 million each for open space and capital improvements, which is parks, pathways, and play areas. The sustainability team, and then facility services is about 845,000. And then I wanted to pick out just a few, because that's the operating and then some capital highlights. So these 5 projects here represent about 1/3 of our total capital funding for fiscal year 26. And you know, I just sort of ran through some numbers about how many pathways we have, how many play areas we have, how many bridges we have. So that all requires capital investment to maintain and replace. And so these 5, again, capture about 1/3 of our spend, a little over 1.6 million for bridges and pathways. The Supreme Phase 4 renos in there as well as play areas and fleet. And then team members by division, again, open space, 3,600 acres. It's our largest, so the open space team day in and day out are out there. So they're the largest share of our team members at about 52, 21 team members in for capital improvements within parks, pathways, and play areas. And then small but mighty is our sustainability team with 5, led by Danielle. So anyway, so that is a quick hit on community operations and all of our stewardship in the community. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Jerry. Just a quick note, again, if you have a question, Julia can walk around real quick, hand out some index cards. Feel free to jot down your question, and we'll get to reading a couple out in a moment. But again, Julia has index cards for those that are interested. And I will turn it over now to Sean.
All right.
CEO Sean, sorry.
Oh,
Because
yes.
we have 2.
Yes, we have CEO Sean and CFO Sean. So you can imagine what it's like around the office. So I hope those were insightful, the presentations, just to give you an idea of the kind of the scope of operations here at Columbia Association. I know, what I hear a lot is people have touch points while I go to the gym, and just that's all I do. Or I walk the Lake Elkhorn, and that's really all. There's other things going on. When you look at everything that we try to offer, we try to make people engage with. It's funny, when you look at it, it's like we try so hard to get people to take advantage of these things, and we do whatever we can to get people to take advantage. And we do. You see from the visits, 2.5 million visits. We never stop working hard to engage people and make them aware of everything CA has to offer. Because when Sean talks about revenues, a lot of that's the annual charge. And one thing I hear is, well, what do I get for my annual charge? There's a lot of value behind that is not membership related. And we're trying to articulate that and express it to the community that there's a lot you can take advantage of here at CA that does not require having an additional membership. It really just goes along with your annual charge. And the money I think you see is very well spent. There's a keen eye on it. The staff internally have a keen eye on it, but also the board keeps a keen eye on it. So every year as we start this budget process, we try to engage the community to hear what you all are looking for, what's important to you, but also to have you understand the complexity of the operation and what's related to all this $86 million that you see, like how that breaks down. And where there's not a lot of variability in that all the time for us to kind of make changes that people would like to see. So with that is our kind of overall operation, but that's just static in time every year. Also, we want to establish some goals for the organization. We think that's important. The board feels like that's important to keep us moving forward. So last year, they established some great goals. We accomplished those goals. Some of them go over from one year to the other. We can't accomplish everything in a year. But I wanted to talk about the goals for this year that we're working on and how they relate to kind of the information that you saw earlier today. So just a brief overview. We'll talk about this goal development process, how we come up with the goals to present to the board. what the objectives of those goals are and how they align with CA's mission and values, and what this year's approved goals are. So I'll go through those in a little bit of detail and then we'll summarize them. First off, the goal development process. So, we have great staff internally. You've met some of them tonight. If you could meet the rest of them, you have met them. And I have to digress for a minute. One thing I hear often is how great the staff are. And when I go around, when I started last year, I met all the staff and they are engaged, they are motivated, they are pleasant. Of course, I'm the new guy, I'm the boss. So of course they're gonna be nice to me. When I ask them what they do, how they like their job, that's how you can tell if someone really likes their job. And they talk about their job and how much they enjoy it, how much they enjoy working with you all. That's how you can tell the staff are engaged and happy. And you see that everywhere at CA, and they are engaged, and everyone cares about this whole organization, and that's amazing. Same with our senior leadership team. So when we get together, we look at the organization, and we think, how can we improve it? How can we make things better? The first thing we do is look at the recently adopted strategic plan. That's really important. The board has set the tone and what they want to see for the next 5 years in the strategic plan. They've given themselves a lot of flexibility on an annual basis to make decisions so they can be nimble and flexible. And also we look at, historical programs and initiatives, and we also talk to the employees. We have all hands meetings and we ask them what they think of the strategic plan, what those goals should be. And then also community stakeholders. We hear from you as well. So a lot goes into developing these goals. But importantly, they need to align with the strategic plan, which was adopted last year. Part of that strategic plan is a framework, but it's basically strategic focus areas. There's 4 of them. You kind of you'd see this kind of in a theme tonight: community connection, wellness, environmental sustainability, and resource resilience. Within those strategic focus areas, there's things that we do here at CA that really flow through everything on a daily basis that are important to us no matter what the strategic focus areas are. There's things that are important to us as an organization that we want to make sure they're encompassed in everything. That's DEIB, that's modernization, awareness of value, you heard me talk about that, risk management, making sure we're managing it well, and also affordability and accessibility. That's important to the community, and this is something that we think about in everything that we do. Also, the objective of the goals consistent with our mission and vision. Part of the strategic plan that was adopted, the mission statement stayed the same, but the board adopted a new vision statement, which was a Columbia that is intentionally diverse, committed to wellness, sustainable, beautiful, connected, and resilient. I think you saw that tonight in a lot of the presentations and how things operate. Our goals are revolved around that. And then final objectives of the goals, they need to be attainable, quantifiable, so we can kind of demonstrate that, yes, we've succeeded these goals and this is why. Consistent with the direction of the board. So that's important too. So it's very important that the board is involved and engaged in these. So what are the goals for FY26? 2 of them are coming to move over from last year. We made progress on them. The first is increasing community engagement through improved user interfaces with the website and GIS, including using multicultural program event opportunities to learn, survey, and engage participants in CA programming and CA in the village elections. This is a lot of words to say. We want more interactivity with the public through our web interfaces. So one is the website. If you've seen the website, this year we made some modest improvements to it. One of those improvements was there's a section now for residents. The residents pay the annual charge. There's a lot of information we try to provide to the residents that's important. We want to make it available and accessible in that regard. But also more board information that's out there more easily to access and understand. But also, there's a part of the business that is a business, and that is community programs and services, and that revolves around memberships and marketing to those memberships. So we're trying to put the website up to and moving forward this year, we're revamping the whole website altogether to provide a better service, but we've made modest improvements this past year. The other Jerry mentioned is our GIS Discover CA tool. This is important. We're trying to engage the community. When you're out there, if you are out at Lake Elkhorn and you open the Discover CA tool, it's going to tell you everything around you that is CA, all the facilities that are available. If you've used the pool to see what the pool status is, it's a great tool. This is a tool we can really build on. It's a mapping tool. It comes up if you want to go from Lake Elkhorn over to Supreme. It's going to tell you how to get there, just like Google Maps taking our pathways. So it's a very powerful tool. It provides a lot of great service, and it's useful for everybody of all ages. So we are building upon that this year, and we'll start to kind of enhance that and roll it out on a regular basis throughout the year. So Really exciting changes. Underneath there on our table, you can see, what the timeline in, the key areas it addresses, just so people can see, like, yes, these relate to the strategic plan, and this is how. This is community connection, and also modernization, awareness of value, and affordability and accessibility. Next is develop a natural resources stewardship plan by combining and building upon aspects of the Columbia Watershed Management Plan, Forest Stewardship Plan, and Energy Management Plan. We started this last year. We had a great charrette. This is one of these plans that we're working to develop. This is a community that's passionate about the environment and sustainability. We're trying to make this a more interactive process with the public. So we've engaged the public in public meetings to really be part of developing this plan. So we had a great charrette to kick off the meeting. We've contracted with a vendor to help spearhead us through the rest of the process. So moving forward this year, we're going to get this plan completed, but it really takes the effort of the community and to be involved and to provide that input on what this plan should look like when it's all put together. So really important. It addresses our community connection, environmental sustainability, and then our focus areas of modernization and risk management. New for this year is a membership rate study. This is to identify membership trends, identify areas for improvement, optimize membership strategies, and evaluate opportunities to maximize value and access to CA's facilities for residents. Dan gave a great presentation of all the facilities we have. We did not give a breakdown of the memberships and the membership rates and the membership structure. We are sensitive to the costs, and that is really important to us. So what we want to do is look at our membership rates and see, how can we be more nimble, more flexible? How can we provide the most value possible while also being able to cover our costs and provide great service? So it's important. You can't just cut costs and then not maintain the facilities. Jeremy gave a great, demonstration on the capital investment we make on an annual basis just to maintain what we have. So there's really this balance that goes along with that. I think we can find some flexibility. There's probably some options in there that we may be able to implement, but this is not something that we don't do ordinarily. We're taking it as an opportunity to work internally and then work externally with consultants, partners to help us really fine tune this and see what we can do to really maximize that value. Key areas of community connection, resource resilience, and also the strategic focus areas of modernization, awareness of value, risk management, and affordability and accessibility. And then last is one of my favorites, long-term capital plan initiation and assess current and future facility needs, including major renovations, potential expansions, and/or consolidation, and develop a financial plan to support capital needs. Columbia is 57 years old. This is amazing. It's been great. Our facilities are aging. Jeremy's crew and the staff do an amazing job maintaining them and renovating them where they're at. We want to look at what are the next 57 years of Columbia going to be like? And what is this next generation going to want in the community? Are they going to have the same wants and needs? One reference I bring up a lot is at the clubs, we built racquetball courts. Well, at the time the clubs were built, racquetball was huge. Well, now it's kind of waned. So it's not as big anymore. Now is pickleball the next racquetball? We don't know. We're taking this as an opportunity to really have a forward look at what we think the community will need, but also to be a little more flexible in our facilities if we're planning new facilities for the future. So it's an exciting project to be part of internally. The staff are really engaged and excited to do that. It's really fun to think about what these next 57 years are going to be. And then also, the important part, how do you pay for these things? And it's not something that we invest in all at once over time. Part of just doing the capital plan is also, it's nice that we could use these things in the future, but are they affordable? Will they be affordable in the future? And will we get the return on investment? So really important, but a great way to kind of look at the future. And the key areas it addresses: resource resilience, environmental sustainability. I have resource resilience there twice. That's really important. Modernization, awareness of value, risk management, and affordability and accessibility. So this is a really important forward-looking goal. We'll be also, this is a kind of a 2-year goal. This year it's internal. Next year we'll be doing more outreach to the community, working with consultants to help us kind of hone in on what we really need. So there'll be plenty of opportunity for the public to weigh in on what they would like to see for the future. Here's just a summary of the goals for this year. I think they're exciting. I think they're really taking a forward-looking approach. We're excited for the future. We hope you are too. But overall, you can see how the presentations you've seen tonight really encompass everything we have going on here. And I hope you walk away here tonight realizing there is a lot of hard work going on. We really value the community, value what you want to see. And we really are, stewarding the funding that we get in the most efficient, effective way possible, but we're always looking to do more. So with that, you've seen all the presentations.
Thank you, Sean. Again, we might have a question or two, but again, if you still have questions, hello, the lights, so pupils are changing, sorry. If you still have a question, feel free to raise your hand. We'll get you an index card. But can we just have another round of applause for staff? Thank you all so very much for all of the work. And Ashley, yeah, go ahead. We have about 5-ish minutes. So if you want to go ahead and take one.
Great. Is my mic on? Great. I'm gonna start with one of the easiest ones, which is, are there plans to expand the CA pathway system?
I'm sorry, what was it?
Are there plans to expand the CA pathway system?
Not currently to make major expansions to the pathway system, but that is part of the long-term capital plan. We'll be looking at that and looking if there's areas where it needs to be expanded upon.
Great. What is CA's role regarding the Gateway Master Plan?
So we are involved with the county and the planning committee on the Gateway Master Plan. We are seeing, waiting for it to be finalized, providing our input. A lot of that plan is reliant on the current property owners along with the county. So we have Judelle Campbell, who is our planner. She is engaged. She is attending all the meetings and she is engaged in keeping us up and in the loop.
Great. This is a long one. The U.S. Census Bureau projects that in 2030, the largest growth in the U.S. will be from immigration. Howard County is already a diverse county. How does CA engage with different ethnic and racial groups, and are there opportunities to engage more?
Yes, great question. Previously at the lakefront with the programming, CA had an effort to activate the lakefront and make sure it's active. Prior to me getting here, that was an A+. I say this a lot, but that area is activated and other areas in the community. What we wanted to do this past year, and you saw some changes to the programming, is some of the program that we were doing, well, saying everyone is welcome is really not being inclusive. It's just saying, well, everyone's welcome. So we've tried to this year engage some different groups to make an effort to really engage different members of the community that may not be so vocal or may need more kind of support. So we are always looking to be more inclusive and looking for demographics or segments of the population that aren't involved as much and really get them engaged.
Great. What is the Columbia card?
Oh, the Columbia card. Oh, Dan. And sweet spot.
I love talking about the Columbia card. So the Columbia card is available to all residents who live on assessed property. It is a card that you just can connect with the customer care or one of the membership teams at one of the clubs. And it entitles you to discounts on programming and services that are largely near what member rates are. And it does also provide some free swims. It gives you 4 swim passes over the summer, as well as free Sunday swims the first Sunday of each month during the summer. So if you don't have one, go get one.
I'm gonna summarize this one, which is, how does CA plan to protect its residents and reduce the deer overpopulation?
Jeremy, is Jeremy still here?
Oh.
I think he left. So we have worked closely with the county on their deer management plan. If you go to the county's website, they actually have great information on deer management. But we're also moving forward on our own. Jeremy could speak to this, but we just talked about this a few weeks ago, is, we're working with our own deer management vendor consultant to look at areas in the community we can help to manage deer better. So we're looking to roll that out probably later this year.
Ashley, we have time for maybe 2 more.
Gosh, okay. One of them is, will the presentations be available online?
We can do that real quick.
Yeah,
Yes, we can make those
All right,
available, yes.
two more now.
how does the oh, wait. Does the CA and CA board view the villages as a strategic partner? And if so, how do you see the villages as a partner to CA? And the achievement of a shared mission? How do we work with the villages?
Do you want me to answer that?
Mhm.
We work closely with the villages. They manage our facilities. We went through updating the grant share agreement last year. There was a lot of misinformation that CA was taking over the villages. That was not the case. CA, I can tell you from this perspective, we are very supportive of the villages. We try to work closely with them. I meet with the village managers. I met with them last year individually. I'll meet with them again. We meet monthly with the village managers, with the CA staff. The CA staff attend village meetings, village board meetings to update the boards on goings on with CA, but also to bring information back to the senior leadership team. So we are very involved, and it's a great partnership, and we're always looking to expand on that.
All right, Ashley, last one.
Yep, sorry, there are a lot of great questions and also some of them are long, so I'm gonna go with a shorter one. This might be more Jeremy again, but it's, is CA planning to put solar on CA property, like the buildings and parking lots, to drive more sustainable infrastructure?
Yes, we're looking to expand our solar footprint. There's a lot that goes into that sometimes it's more expensive than the return would be. So every project is looked at distinctly.
So I know we have more cards and we'll see if we have time, but I think that we want to get into actually having conversations with each other. So thank you, everyone. But we'll shift into our resident speak out town hall time. So this is your chance to connect one-on-one with staff, board members, and neighbors. Just a reminder, we're all a part of the same community, so let's keep the conversations respectful and constructive. Board, we will officially wrap things up around 9:25 so that there's enough time for gavel out. And if you do need to head out before then, board, please let myself know, Sean, Julia, someone, just so that we're mindful of quorum. In a moment, we're going to conclude the video and audio recording for tonight. So everyone that's here tonight with us, I encourage you to jump into conversations that you're most passionate about, and feel free to vote with your feet. If a topic grabs your interest, great. If you'd rather move on and join a different conversation, that's perfectly fine too. Think of this as an open, organic chance to connect with neighbors, board members, and staff. So out in the lobby, we have some tables with numbers that you'll see, and that's where folks can kind of congregate. You're more than welcome to stay in this space as well if you're not interested in one of those four topics out there. But table number 1, we'll have conversations focused about the FY27 budget. Table 2 will focus on community programs and services. Table 3 will focus on community operations. And table 4 will focus on the FY26 board goals. I'll say those one more time, just in case you wanted to write those down for what you're most interested in. Table 1 is about FY27 budget. Table 2 will focus on community programs and services. Table 3 will focus on community operations. And table 4 will focus on FY26 board goals. And again, if you're just interested in having conversation and hanging out in here, that's cool too. But like I said, board, we will reconvene back up here around 9:25 and we'll be running around doing some time checks for that. But let's have some conversations, y'all. Thank you.
Yeah.